Hi everyone, Bear from Bear Reads Books. Today we're here for another tag video and we are doing the Choose the Year book tag, which is originally from Mel's Bookland Adventures. It was a great tag. There's been lots of people doing it. I'm a little late to the party as I usually am, but I've decided to do 1972, which is the year of my birth, which kind of gives my age away, I guess. And surprisingly, there were some amazing books released in 1972. So the questions for the tag go like this. We've got choose a year and say why. 1972, it's the year of my birth. Which books published in that year have I read? And just a selection. So here's the selection of books from the list that I have read. And I've got a printout here, and I used Goodreads, and just searching on Google I found a few decent lists, and I've pulled a bunch of books from 1972, hopefully published in 1972, not written in 1972. I tried to contain them correctly. I haven't fact checked every single one for accuracy, so if I drift off 1972 I do apologise, but the ones that I was able to find that I have read, there are some amazing books in here. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. And I remember as an early to mid-20s, I read pretty much everything Hunter S. Thompson's collection. He was an amazing character. I think the movie of this particular book did not at all do the book justice, even though it had Johnny Depp paying for it and starring in it. I think all of his books are just amazing. And Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, this mad road trip across the United States. And supposedly they're journalists on the hunt for stories. It's a crazy trip. I really enjoyed it. It was a long time ago. 1972, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. Another one I've read is Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. So around that time, all the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, which was the second in the Charlie Bucket series, came out in 1972. Also made large by a really wonderful movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, with Gene Wilder? Yeah, Gene Wilder, which is a great movie, a great kids movie. And the books especially are really great fun, by Roald Dahl, of course. I didn't say that before. So Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, which is the second in the series by Roald Dahl in 1972. What else have we got from that I have read? Let's try. Oh, there was only one more. Goodness. The other one on this long list, the only other one on this long list that I've read, was The Manticore by Robertson Davies. And I think I've mentioned Robertson Davies before when one of Sean's tags asked me to name a Canadian author. Oh, the Alphabet Soup asked me to name a Canadian author that I like, and Robertson Davies is absolutely that. And I've read all of the Deptford trilogy, which is where The Manticore sits. It's the middle book of the Deptford trilogy, and I've read all of his other trilogies as well. And The Manticore is just great. So I might do a more detailed video about Robertson Davies at a later time, because he really was an absorbing character, both as an author and in the books that he created. I really do like Robertson Davies. I'd be interested to hear from other Canadians about your impressions of Robertson Davies. I picked him up on a whim. I don't know anyone else really in my circle that has read Robertson Davies. I'd be really interested to see what other people think of this trilogy, the Deptford trilogy, but also this trilogy, the Deptford trilogy, or any other Robertson Davies book. I would love to hear your thoughts. I've always liked them. There was a whole bunch of stuff on this list that I had read other books of these authors, but not this particular one. So maybe that could be another question. And there was a whole, I'm going to race through them just now and give you a little bit of an idea, but just from this short list that I created, there was a whole bunch of books that I'd read other books by this author, including The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. I've read Fahrenheit. I've read Fahrenheit before. Was it Fahrenheit 451? Of course, I've read that. But that's another one by Ray Bradbury. I've read Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, and on this list is another of his books, Girls at War and Other Stories. There was Farewell Waltz by Milan Kundera, and I have read The Unbearable Lightness of Being, and there's also Angela Carter and her book, The Infernal Desire Machines of Dr. Hoffman, released in 1972, but much later. I read Nights at the Circus, is that right? So, and Transparent Things by Vladimir Nabokov was released in 1972, and I've read other Nabokovs as well. So Don DeLillo is on the list for 1972 with a book called End Zone, which I've never heard of, but I've read other Don DeLillo books also. So there's a bunch of books on this list where I've read other books by the author, but not this one. Some of them I just never heard of before. It's quite incredible. Going back to the questions, are there any books published in that year that sound interesting, and would you read them now? Go back to my list that I would want to read. Let's see. This is an author that I only discovered this year, and it's David McCulloch, who writes American history books. Very consumable American history books. I think one was called 1776. No, that's an Australian. The one that was out in 1972 was called The Great Bridge, about the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, which sounds really interesting. I would like to read that. Also on this list is, I've never read an Agatha Christie novel. Why the hell have I not ever read an Agatha Christie novel? In 1972, there was Elephants Can Remember, which was a Hercule Poirot number 40. Now, I don't want to read 40 Hercule Poirot books, but I'd be keen to give at least one Agatha Christie novel a go, so let's put that on the list for 2020. The other thing that I can't believe I've never read was a Frederick Forsyth book. I mean, he's written an awful lot of books, but The Odessa File, I've seen the movie, and there are quite a few movie adaptations on this list that I had seen the movie but never read the book. But I've never read a Frederick Forsyth book, so maybe I'd like to read The Odessa File by Frederick Forsyth. That might be interesting. And these throwaway Western books by Louis L'Amour, who's been around for seemingly forever. 1972, there was like 3 or 4 Louis L'Amour books on this 1972 list, one of which was called Ride the Dark Trail. And not ever being a fan of Westerns, I can maybe give one a crack, so I'll put Louis L'Amour, one of Louis L'Amour's books on my list for 2020 as well, which sounds a bit of fun, a Western. What else is on there? Also, I have never read Charles Bukowski, like hard detective novels, strange, and the very strange title took me for this one: Erections, Ejaculations, Exhibitions and General Tales of Ordinary Madness by Charles Bukowski. I have no idea whether it's any good or not, but I've never read any Charles Bukowski, so I'd like to give that a go as well. A couple of final questions. Number 4, the most obscure sounding book. And this one I had never heard of. I'd never heard of the author, and I assumed it was a foreign author in translation, and when I looked it up, it was an American author who was seemingly very well thought of in 1972, so apologies, but it was called Gorilla My Love by Tony Kade Bambara. Interesting. It is a book of short stories, but the praise for it in 1972 was quite amazing. It made the top 2. I think I was looking at the top 200 list for 1972, and it made it quite midway up that list. So I'll say that again: Gorilla My Love by Tony Kade Bambara, and the cover looked beautiful as well. So it sounded very interesting. It's stories from the east coast of the United States, so New York right down to the south. So might give it a shot. And the final one, the strangest book cover. I'll pop it up on as a picture because it really was quite amazing. And even when I tried to find different versions of the cover for this book, the alternate versions of the cover were just as strange as the original version of the cover. So, it was pretty crazy. It was it's a book called Roadside Picnic, which sounds lovely and innocuous and quite innocent, but it's not. It's 1970s sci-fi fiction by Arkady and Boris Strutsky. This is going to stump me. Strutsky. Boris and Arkady, brothers, obviously, who'd written a book called Roadside Picnic, an innocent romp, where just so I know nothing about it, but I think it's some sort of dystopian science fiction thing from 1972. Considering they were at the height of the Cold War, there were all sorts of things people were afraid of in 1972 that they could make some sci-fi dystopian future out of. So I'd be interested to see that. But by all means, have a look at the cover of this thing. There were a couple of alternate covers I could have put up there. They were all just out there and super colourful, and I had no idea what's going on. But that's a really fun tag. There are a bunch of things on this list that surprised me for 1972, and I think soonish, not real soon, I might pick another year of significance for me and do another one. I think everyone's first go at this is the year of their birth, so I might as well a few months from now do another one and see what year I can come up with and see what interesting things are in that year as well. This has been really fun, but it's time to go. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, wherever you may be, and I will see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.